Hi guys, and welcome back to the Essen Studio, and today we're showcasing this beautiful World Eaters army by Kevin Warwick from Gibraltar. Instagram name is 40k Nerd. For those of you interested, here's his Instagram name. Make sure you go and follow him because he's got absolutely amazing armies. Not only this one, he's got others which we may showcase in the future when they do get bigger, but some of them are quite small at the moment. And yeah, so I will be showcasing some armies every couple of months. If I see an army that ticks all the boxes, and like this one that you already can see on screen, and you probably will see a lot of photos through the showcase, ticks all the boxes. It's got a really nice paint job, it's got the fluff, it's got a lot of retro units which everybody loves. So yeah, hope you enjoy this, and let's get to it. So Kevin, how many points is this army at the moment?
At the moment it works at about 3,600 and a bit of change. And that's with the currents.
That's with the currents, yeah. Which is pretty good because we're just about to get into 9th edition and they have already confirmed that a lot of units, or most of the units, will go up, meaning that you will probably have maybe 4,000 points.
I think it's probably quite easy because given there's a lot of tanks, and you know, we've seen that tanks are getting buffed. And things with blast weapons, in particular like the Vindicators are going to get a bit of a buff. So
yeah, they will probably go up.
They'll probably go up a bit.
If they're getting buffs, they'll probably go up.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're maybe talking about a 4,000 point army now on the table in the next. If we would be talking about this in the next couple of months, we could be talking about 4K. So next question: why World Eaters?
The main thing is the fluff behind them. Obviously, when we started this army, I think we were playing a bit of 40k as well.
Yes.
And the fluff for World Eaters in 40k is just amazing. The book Betrayer from the Horus Heresy books is just probably the best book in that series, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I really liked the idea also of the blue and the white.
Yeah. Stands out really nice.
Yeah.
Really difficult to do paint wise, but we'll go into the painting later on at the end.
So it was mainly that. It was basically that's the fluff of just these angry dudes
running forward, looking for skulls.
But at the same time, you have the other side that, as I've done them in the 30k kind of paint scheme, you know, the World Eaters at that time were a Space Marine Legion like all the other legions.
Yeah, one more.
They had one more. They had this angry side to them, but they also had everything that every other legion had. So they all had tanks, they all had spaceships, they all had the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, I wanted to do it slightly, you know, so I could use it both in 30k and in 40k.
Yeah.
And also just make it just slightly different. So it's kind of based on it's almost like a Devastator type company.
It is exactly that, because there's a lot of firepower, which you don't normally see when you're playing World Eaters. You see more of a racing forward, troop invested lists. So it's actually even cooler to see a list World Eaters with so much firepower as well in it. Question: now that we're talking about her, didn't they have a Titan Legion as well? Didn't the World Eaters have a Titan Legion?
There was one that kind of did.
With the flames, wasn't it the one with the flames? Because you've got some retro Titans as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like retro, like the first ones out.
The Armor Force.
So, are you thinking about painting them those colours?
At some point.
At some point,
It's
a big. It's a lot of hours to paint those big ones. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's see some of the units. Let's talk about some of the units. And now that we know the points, let's start with the elite units. Okay. So you do have a Vanguard detachment. If so, you could actually play them. So let's go straight on to the Terminators. So we've got the really retro Terminators. Where are these from? The ones you see now on screen are the oldest ones.
They are the oldest ones. They are the oldest ones and probably the ugliest ones.
And probably the ugliest ones.
They're from the first edition of Space Hulk.
Okay, cool. And that's where I've seen them.
And they're just terrible, but I love them.
High shoulders.
And they're pretty cool. They're very monopose. They're just one thing. I had to stick a sword on one of them to kind of make it into a sergeant.
Represent it as a sergeant.
But they're pretty cool. And these are kind of the second edition Space Hulk ones.
So were those the next ones straight after? Okay. And question now that we're talking about the retro stuff, what's made you mix the retro with the new, basically? Because you've got some of the Forge World units, which we'll get to, which are basically as new as you get, and then you've got the first edition Terminators. So is that something you had in mind when you started the army?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the fact is that obviously I'm old, so I remember
what, 103, right?
103. Yeah, this August I'll be 103.
This August.
It's mainly the fact that some of these I had since 1988 or whatever, since 1990. So it was just kind of getting them to be used.
Yeah.
And then when the funny thing is that when I started doing it, and I think I painted up a tank or a rhino or something first. I think
it was a rhino. Oh, was it a predator? I remember you actually.
Was, yeah.
You had a lot of guys saying "Well, that's really nice."
Yeah, and it was just you got the feedback, and then I got a whole bunch of kind of stuff on eBay, which I just bought an old bunch of Blood Angels stuff.
Okay.
And I can send you a picture of them, and then it was just kind of getting them, stripping them, painting them,
starting from
and
scratch.
It just made it really nice. It made it kind of an exciting stuff. So it was just mixing it up and making it more into a project as that.
Nice. So yeah, it creates so much a nicer list, something different to see as well. And those of you who have been playing for many years, like most of us have been playing, get a bit of nostalgia from it, of thinking about when you used to play those board games. Okay, so let's quickly go into the 2 HQs you've run. So they are librarians, but when you use them on the battlefield, you use them as captains, and it's specifically because there's a bit of fluff, old fluff, which you saw, and that's why you play them as captain. So do you want to explain a bit about that?
I use them as normal Chaos Lords. They're also from Space Hulk, from the Space Hulk game. There is this fluff in the first realm of Chaos book, the Slaves to Darkness.
Yeah, which is an amazing book. If you have that, you've got a relic. You've got a relic at home.
And they've reprinted them recently.
Yes.
In Warhammer World.
Didn't we bring you one?
No, I already have the original.
we brought like 6 or 7. When we asked, we were at Warhammer World for the Heat Finals, and they had just released that, and we asked in one of the Gibraltar groups, like, hey, look, we're here, they've just released this, does anybody want one? And we thought, like, oh, maybe 1 or 2, like 6 or 7 people asked for them. They're massive, they're heavy, and we were like, oh no. I think we're gonna pay some extra money to send the suitcase back.
It's well worth it.
But it was worth it. It's a really nice book,
But in there they have that had the very first kind of World Eaters list.
Okay.
And they had librarians, but they had them more as they no longer used their psychic powers, so very much like this.
Yeah.
But what they did was they counted the skulls. They were like the accountants.
Which is so cool.
Which is great.
The accountants, you have to nickname the accountants, actually.
And that's kind of a bit like they have in Nurgle now, where they have the kind of tallymen just make a list.
Yeah.
But
it's really cool. So
World Eaters used to
for those of you who don't play World Eaters, they're very anti-psyker. So you won't see librarians or sorcerers or anything like that. Or so it's actually really fluffy to actually see some of that, and it's really cool as well for on the tabletop to add that fluff. So use painted librarian Terminators, using that fluff and using them as lords. Cool. Okay, so I think that's all the elites, right?
Yep, that's the 4 units. I mean, obviously, if we're playing this in a proper competitive type, semi-competitive, you'd probably merge one of the units together and make them Red Butchers.
Red Butchers, yeah, because it's one of the new strats from the Psychic Awakening. So good. If you've probably seen if you're an SM Plus, you've probably seen it a couple of times, but we do have a report, I believe, on YouTube as well, where Chris uses the Red Butchers, and they're so cool. Like anything they touch, they basically kill. So really cool. Okay, let's move on now to behind them. So behind them we've got some infantry units and the old school again retro small rhinos. I still can't believe how they fit inside, but let's not talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. Yeah, I mean,
so
all of them will fit in there. Obviously.
Let's talk about the rhinos first. Yeah. So do you know what year these are from? Are they the 3 of the same chassis, right? Same chassis.
Same chassis. This one's got slightly different top. I think they must be 1990. 89, 90 maybe.
Yeah, maybe in the 80s and everything, late 80s,
and again, these were all messed up. I think I got this one from, I think Manolo gave me this one.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah, it's actually my favourite one of the lot. Okay. So it was, so they've got the 3 of them. I mean, I've obviously painted them pretty battered kind of look, just with the kind of the twin.
That's something else that you'll see probably from the photos. You've battered out the vehicles a lot, and then the models themselves are quite clean.
Yeah.
Why did you actually do that? Is it representing like the vehicles obviously are used more, and normally you wouldn't like fix them up a lot or stuff like that.
Just in my personal kind of headcanon is that they look after their armor, they look after their weapons,
their personal armor,
because that's what they do. That my view of Khorne in this kind of respect is more that he's a god of war.
Yeah.
So there's kind of different types of how you do it. I mean, I think a lot of the Black Library books have looked at that. There are people who maybe worship Khorne that don't even realise they do, because they're just soldiers.
Which is true.
So I think that they would take care of their personal stuff.
Yeah.
Whether they would take care of their tanks as much, probably not.
Okay.
They just use it. It's just something that they use to drive in.
Yeah. That's it. And it's cool. It's cool as well to actually see the contrast of like the clean look with the battered look on the tanks. Okay, so back onto. I'll stop asking so many questions.
Cool.
So we've got the 3 transports, and just in front of them, we've got 2 types of units which you use, and you've also got 1 unit but painted differently in slightly. So let's talk about the bigger squad. On the left, those are the berserkers, right?
Yep, those are Khorne berserkers, which obviously, when you have a World Eaters detachment, are troops.
Yes.
So these are my 3 troop choices for battalion. So it's just 10 guys. These are the kind of the basic ones, which are the kind of the chain axes and the bolt pistols.
Okay.
And I have them led by a kind of a Forge World apothecary figure, which I use as their kind of their champion.
Okay.
Just because, again, it's kind of a bit of a fluff. It was the apothecaries who kind of controlled the butcher's nails.
Okay.
So
cool.
So I kind of have him as their kind of their champion, and he
also
has
a cool model as well.
He's a very cool model, and he also he's armed the same. He's got the chain axe and he's got the pistol. So
it makes sense.
It's pretty cool.
Cool. And then we've got a smaller squad painted in different colours.
Yeah,
so
these are kind of a bit later heresy.
Yeah.
Kind of, so it's the red and white instead of the blue.
Which is really cool and very Gibraltarian as well.
Yeah,
very Gibraltarian.
Gladiator Group 54 after the team. And kind of they're a smaller unit. They've got power fist. They're kind of a bit
and more elite, a bit more elite, right?
They're a bit more elite also in that they are the chain axe and chain sword.
So more attacks.
And they will kind of normally be accompanied by one of the characters in there as well, or maybe even a couple of characters running forward with them. And Space Marines.
Yeah, so just a basic unit.
Basic unit. A bunch of bolters. Kind of a sergeant just with a normal kind of fit stuff and
a plasma gun as well.
And that's kind of one of your favourite figures, isn't it?
Yes, there's a lot of history to that guy. So you've played probably about 10 battle reports in the classic style, which was the ones that we started at the beginning, and that guy used to mess up my whole game on many occasions, and we actually called him the Welfener, which is the orphan basically. And so every time I see him, it brings back a lot of bad memories.
Well, the fact is that head was actually on a red scorpion,
exactly,
where he was exactly the same.
So that's something else. So Kevin has a Red Scorpion's army, which we can actually showcase later on. Let's see how you guys actually like the whole showcase video, and if you do, we can bring the Red Scorpions because that's quite a big, big enough as well. Okay, so we've basically sorted out that side. Let's move on to some of the bigger tanks now. So let's talk about these 4 tanks here at the back. So the Sicarian, the Vindicator Laser Destroyer, and we've got 2 retro what do you call it? Vindicators. I was going to say demolishers. So Vindicator Demolisher, right? Okay, so let's talk about the Sicarian. So basically the centerpiece of the army, being the biggest. Why did you choose this unit?
Because he just looks so cool.
He does. He's one of my favorite chassis for tanks. And now there's so many different. There's the Punisher one. The Punisher one. There's the missiles as well.
I think I might have to get a Punisher.
Yeah, the Punishers look good. I think it's like 20 shots, or no, I think it's a bit less shots. I think it's like 18 shots, but strength is higher than the Punisher from a Lemon Russ tank. So you've got the accelerator,
which are really good,
cannons,
which are actually good. A couple of las cannons on the side, and the heavy bolter, obviously.
Standard.
I just, to be honest, it's a lot bigger than when I ordered it from Forge World. I thought it was going to be smaller.
Yeah, it is a big tank.
Yeah.
Are they toughness 8s?
They're good. They are. I think they are.
Could they be toughness 8s? I don't know. But they've got like or higher wounds or higher toughness,
they're good.
and they move fast.
They move fast.
The Chaos ones eat people.
And they're elites, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah.
So
I think they've got a special rule as well, which they regenerate wounds. Hell-forged, so it's a pretty decent tank to have.
It's a really nice model.
Okay, moving over, let's go into the Demolishers then. You've got two retro as well, exactly the same.
Currently, obviously, absolutely rubbish in the game.
They are. Well, no, they got a bit better because now you've got D6 shots constantly instead of D3, which was it was like awful. Now they've gone to D6, which is it's better.
Yeah, but still.
But I'm
hopefully with Blast.
Where Blast and the no tagging anymore. That I think we'll see a lot of Demolishers and stuff and similar tanks like this come out.
And I really like the look of them. I think they look like proper tanks.
Because you can also add the. Did this actual model have the shield as well?
I don't think it ever did.
No,
I think
that was later on.
Yeah, I think it was later on.
Because it probably was like 5th edition where they added that, where it was an extra. You could actually add it to it. To have a better armor in the front or something, armor 14 in the front instead of the 12 or 13.
Armor 14 in the back.
Yeah, it was like a Land Raider front.
Exactly.
Cool. So why did you actually choose as well this again?
I just like the look of them.
Just aesthetic wise,
they just look like really nice. They look like proper tanks, like Second World War.
It's always nice to have two.
Yeah, well,
I don't know why. 3 is better, but like we'll go into the Predators, which you have 3, but 2 is always nice, and you can actually on the battlefield, like you don't play competitively. You've always played you actually played some competitive games or stuff like that. Like I remember we played with this army against the Imperial Knights when they came out, and we actually built an anti-9 list, and they were still too good. They were still too good. But when you're on the battlefield, things like this, like 2 Vindicators, always work better having 2 because you can separate them, so there's always like 2 big hitters hitting you on either flank, and just easier to work around with.
And that's the cool thing about having so many tanks. I mean, even rhinos are quite kind of survivable.
Yes.
So it's kind of making people choose what they choose.
Yeah, and rhinos, the good thing is that if you put in expensive units inside, it's like, I always mention them as extra wounds because it's extra survivability, because you can't get targeted until you actually blow up the rhino. So it's always good investment, especially at the points they're at now. Okay, moving on now, we've got this, again, another beautiful model from Forge World. Something that we don't see on the table. I don't exactly remember the rules, but I don't think they're that good for 8th edition.
Maybe not, but they still kind of...
But they still, when they hit, they hit hard. Again, something that we don't see on the table, so many of you probably now on screen, as you see in the photo, haven't seen this tank before. Explain a bit about why you chose it, because just aesthetic wise as well.
Yeah, it just looks so cool.
Yeah.
The kind of the laser destroyer thing at the front, the 4 barrels, just look amazing. It's a nice beefy tank, especially next to kind of the smaller rhinos I have. It just looks like it has a great kind of impression on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And it kind of does damage.
It does.
It does damage if it hits, and it hits well, and you can overcharge it. It's one of those that you can overcharge.
Cool. Yeah, so it gets a higher strength, like a plasma bound tank.
If it doesn't move, I think it can shoot twice, except on the overcharge.
Okay, it's got rules like that.
It has kind of a little few things that it's a little bit more. It's a little bit tougher than a. It's a kind of same kind of toughness as a Vindicator. Okay. So it's a little bit tougher than a Rhino.
Yeah, probably extra wounds here and there as well.
So it's pretty cool.
Cool. Okay, so we've gone through the big 4 hitters, and then in the middle of these 4 hitters, there's 2 little things, which many of you are like rattling your brains. Are like, what is that? What is that? So explain to the viewers what these 2 little things are.
They're dreadnoughts.
They are dreadnoughts.
So they're kind of
as retro as you can go.
As retro as you can go. They're 1980s.
Yeah, for sure.
88, 89. Slightly different kind of models. One's got kind of long legs and one's got short legs.
Yeah.
Don't know why they did different legs.
Yeah, but it's actually cool to have like different poses. I guess that was the difference in the models, basically.
Yeah, I mean they're solid lead.
Yeah, they are heavy. Like if I threw this at someone, I'll hurt them a lot. Yeah, they're really heavy.
So I kind of use them as kind of hell boots.
So they're equipped differently, right?
Yeah, that one's got a las cannon, so it's kind of the
old las cannon,
kind of the heavy bolter type.
The heavy bolters
in game.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you could even get dreadnoughts that just had 2 bolters. That was all.
Just bolters.
2, just 2 of them, 1 on each arm.
Nice.
So I think they've evolved quite a lot since then. You put that next to your double storm cannon Leviathan.
Yeah, so yeah, as you can see probably on screen, there's a lot of photos I'm taking. They are so different to what we see now. But again, bring so much flavour to the army, and nostalgia as well for many of you. And look, even the weapons, like they look completely, they look completely
the
different.
Las cannon just looks
weird.
The
Las cannon, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like a half missile,
half something. I don't know.
Conversion beamer, half. Cool. Okay, so moving on now. Let's move on to the unit in front. So we've got what are these called?
These are the rapiers.
And it's quad heavy bolter rapiers. Again, something that you don't see a lot in World Eater's army because it's really shooty. This is anti-World Eater, anti-World Eater lists. Because this is what you want to fire when there's swarms of Tyranids coming to you, units of Berserkers racing towards you.
Although on the other side of it, I mean, they're Hellforged.
Yeah.
So they basically
eat people as well. So when the crew die, they're still alive and they run towards the closest.
They don't even need the crew. I think the crew are almost decoration for these when it comes to the chaos.
And they have to move towards the closest unit.
When they go.
And they start munching away.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of shots packing in here. So when you've used them, you normally have a captain, a lord beside it, re-rolling ones to hit, prescience on them, so hitting on 2s. They pack a punch, especially
they're serious.
The Imperium ones are much better now just because of the doctrines where you start on the heavy and they become -2. But when you have, how many shots do they have each?
It's 4.
Is it 12?
16?
Is it 12 shots?
Oh,
12 sheets, right?
Yeah.
So 36 shots, hitting on 2s when you presence and re-rolling 1s at a -1, which is really good for, again, hordes, orcs, guardsmen. They just run riots when you fire at things like that. Again, did you choose them because of aesthetics or?
Actually, to be honest, I chose them because they looked good and also because I needed something anti-horde. Yeah.
Okay.
The good thing about using them in Chaos is that they've got slightly different rules. I think they've got a bit more range. I think they've got 48-inch range as opposed to 36 in Imperium. And you can have them. You can have that as one unit.
Okay.
Instead of having to split it.
Yeah, because the Imperium one has to have one, right? Yeah. So you can actually have them as a squad.
Yeah.
I don't think the range. I don't think they have the extra range.
I think they do, but we can check.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I'm sure they can have them as a unit of 3, which is always good, better.
And you can also, and then that means that you could also have 9 of them.
Yes.
Even on rules.
Just firing forward. Just imagine that, like proper firing. How many shots are that? Cool. Okay, so we've basically done most of it. Anything you want to add?
Well, we've got at front. We've got the Chosen.
Okay, let's go into the Chosen. Okay, so 2 units of Chosen.
Yeah, 2 units of Chosen with plasma guns. This is again, it was more to mimic what the Horus Heresy lists look like.
Okay.
Because they can have units. I mean, a bit like the Primaris nowadays.
Yeah.
Where you can have the Hellblasters, which are all plasma gun dudes. The that goes back to kind of the Horus Heresy types listing.
Specialized units. Yeah.
And the only way to basically reflect that in a 40k list is by Chosen.
Okay. And that's going back to the Rhinos. Those are the squads that you want to have in Rhinos.
I would have both of those squads in one Rhino.
That's true. Yeah, because you can now do that, which I forget.
So you would have them coming out. When they come out, you have the 2 units. So you people have to split between the units to shoot at them back.
Which is much better.
Wow, I mean, their firepower would just be great.
Yeah, and you're in rapid fire range probably if you're having a Rhino as well. Do you normally overcharge when they come out, World Eater style, like?
Yes.
There's no to it.
Always yes.
Before the game even starts, you probably say, if I ever shoot a plasma,
you just imagine.
It's just I'm overcharging. Okay, like Khan, doesn't he always overcharge? Doesn't he? Or
I don't know if he does, but that'd be so good.
I think if he shoots, I think he has to have the overcharge. I think, but he does re-roll anyway.
Okay,
so it's good.
So he's
So 2 units there are very specialized, like you said, very small as well, which we covered before, and it looks really cool. Like the green on the white and the blue is a very cool color to it. I have the green as well on the Hellblasters for by Crimson Fists.
What am I using at the moment? I think I'm using blue at the moment for my soul drinkers.
For the soul drinkers. Yeah. Okay, so 2 more. Well, we've got a couple of HQs left, and then we've got the Friends. So the 3 Predators again, retro as it gets. I think there's 2 errors here. right?
Yeah,
this one's
this was the first one.
The first one is the older one, 1980s, I believe.
1980s,
and late 80s.
Yeah, late 80s. I mean, Warhammer. Rogue Trader came out in 88, I think it was. So it's kind of 88, 89.
Probably that. Yeah, end of the 80s. So we've got an autocannon turret and las cannon sponsons, and take us through. Talk about a bit about it.
Again, this one is one which I got, and it was a really bad state when I got it. I had to kind of strip it completely and take off a whole bunch of glue that was on it. Luckily, it was super glue, so
easier.
That was easier. But yeah, it's great. I mean,
And this one's all plastic, right?
All plastic.
So this one doesn't weigh anything, and then when I move to this one, it gets so much heavier.
That one's the kind of the twin. Twin las cannons and four las cannons.
Anti-big stuff.
Yeah,
anti-big stuff. So there's a couple. The chassis is probably plastic, right?
Yeah.
And then we've got the sponsons and the top bit are metal, right?
Yeah.
And you've got the two the same, so you're packing eight las cannon shots between the two.
Yeah.
Very anti-night, again, big stuff, which is needed because you've got a lot of like smaller shots coming in from most of this stuff, the Sicarian and stuff, and these just target the big stuff.
Needed something like that.
Do you know the year of these two?
Probably about 91, maybe 1990, 1991. It must be something like that.
And they're quite different to this one, actually.
Yeah, they look very different.
The turret's much smaller.
Yeah.
The sponsons are
forward.
The sponsons are the newer type of thing because the sponsons on this one is the old type where it was like a curve, and some of them didn't. Wasn't there some? Some of them had like a space marine firing the turret as well.
They had that on the old Razorback.
At the top, right? It was the guy firing. That's specific. I really like that. I really like that. So 3 Predators there. Again, more heavy support. So how many heavy supports have you got?
A
lot, right? Because these are all heavy supports. Sicarian and that one's heavy support. I think this is elite, like you said. At least of fast attack, maybe even.
Oh, could be.
Yeah, but they move a lot. They move 14 inches.
It's not heavy for sure.
No. And that we've gone through everything except the 4 characters at the front. Yeah. So let's talk about the 4 characters because there's 3 types of characters there. We've got 2 Chaos Lords, what is this one called?
That's a
Tech Priest, Warpsmith with a conversion beamer. But let's talk about that first because the model's equipped with a conversion beamer, which is sold on Forge World. I believe it's still sold as Forge World, but we're a bit confused because I don't know if you can actually have that loadout in 40k. So if you actually know how you can have that loadout, or if it's maybe it's a special character.
We can do it. You can do it obviously for Tech Marine in a kind of a normal Space Marine list, but in a Chaos, I couldn't find how to do it.
Okay, so maybe it's Horus Heresy. Or
I mean, because it is a model from the weapon part of it anyway is a model from the Badab War.
Yeah, so maybe it's like a special character.
Maybe it's a special character.
So if you know about it, if you know about this model and how, and if it's legal to actually equip it for 40k, please comment below because it will be actually quite cool to see. So he's equipped with a power axe.
Yeah, power axe.
So you've converted it a bit, right? The head's different as well.
Well, it's all different. I mean, to be honest, it's just the weapon is from that
guy,
and that's everything else is from different bits. No. I mean, obviously, if it were playing a kind of full matched play, I'd just use him as a Warpsmith.
Okay.
And just pretend that's all.
Yeah, of course.
What it's supposed to be. But if it's a friendly game, just stick a conversion beamer on him.
Yeah. Cool. And then to the side we've got what's this guy?
Dark Apostle.
Using a Dark Apostle. So really cool aesthetic to it as well. He's got like holding the banner, pointing forward, isn't he?
Yeah.
So very cool.
Yeah, I thought he looked the part. The kind of the banners from I think it's the Chaos Marauders, Horsemen or something like that. So it's kind of looks
very
quite
cool.
It's
It's a cool banner actually. It's really quite high as well. So
so it's kind of he's kind of, as you know, Dark Apostle is a bit of a buff unit.
Yeah, and they're very good. Dark Apostles is like a must-have now in Chaos.
Yeah, especially now that kind of they doubled up. They give them the extra powers.
They can do extra prayers, and you can make them have an extra one as well by playing a CP, especially for word bearers, and they're very good. DC uses Malik a lot. So yeah, very cool unit to have. And again,
Malik is about twice the size of
Malik's is much bigger than him, but he's a cool model, so I like him. Okay, and then lastly we've got the two Chaos Lords at the front. Again, both of them quite different in loadout.
Well, both got plasma pistols.
Yeah, so you've actually use the whole plasma pistol.
Yeah.
In a lot of the stuff.
That's part of it. It's pretty cool.
And the green again looks that makes the unit pop out a bit.
One's got a power sword and one's got a power fist.
Power glove.
Power glove. That's what it used to be called.
Power glove.
That's what it used to be called.
With all the COVID, we're confused with all the gloves. And there you have it. That's 3,600
and a bit.
And a bit.
And it's kind of in this. Obviously, I've just put him as a normal Wolfsmith in this.
You could have upgraded it a bit more here and there.
And it's legal.
Yeah. How many detachments is this?
Three detachments.
Battalion,
Vanguard, and Spearhead.
And Spearhead with the heavy supports.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, and lastly now, before we finish off, let's talk a bit about the paint job, because it's a really very, very, very nice white, which a lot of people complimented when you're playing on the battlefield. When you've played on SM Plus, people have commented about it. How do you do the white? And then when you've played at events here, again, a lot of people have liked it and stuff. So do you want to take us through a bit of how you actually layer it to have that really vibrant white?
The white, I mean, I kind of make it difficult for myself because I start off with black.
Okay.
So everything's it's all the kind of the guys are undercoated black.
I would have never thought of
it's just
starting with
black. Mad way of doing it.
Madness.
It's just that my style is very kind of old school in that respect.
Okay.
In that I kind of like the black lines.
Okay.
So I find it easier to start with black and then just kind of
layer the other colours on top.
And then I try to find a grey that kind of is very opaque. So a light opaque grey, which I normally use Vallejo paints.
Okay.
And I think it's their game colour ones, which are even kind of more even more opaque.
Okay.
So kind of grey, and then kind of just on top of that, just kind of layers of white. And it works. You have to be patient with that because it is one which is just making sure you just get it in the right places. Just make sure you don't kind of mess up too much. Starting off with the black means that you can then kind of, if you do mess up, you just go back to black and just
easier to retouch.
But yeah, so just kind of bright. And whereas the tanks kind of is slightly different, I start off with brown.
Okay, that's the color you can actually see through the rust, right?
So I kind of use this they're all painted with kind of what's called the chipping method.
Okay, is it with the salt? Is it?
You can do it with salt, and then with a hairdryer and salt. But you can just buy chipping medium.
Okay.
So what I bought was this set of paints, also it's Vallejo as well, which is just.
So you're a big fan of Vallejo paints then?
Paints are. I mean, they are. First of all, they come in dripper bottles.
Yeah.
I mean, I really like Games Workshop paints. Don't get me wrong. I think some of their colours, like Mephiston Red, is really good.
Okay.
The new contrast paints I started using only very recently, and some of them are just amazing.
Yeah,
they're just amazing. But when it comes to just ease, just having it in a dropper, and I know people can
do it,
say,
but it's extra work.
Yeah, you can
extra work,
and you can transfer it into a dripper bottle, but life's too short.
No time for that.
Exactly. So it's just kind of. I bought this box of rust effect paints. It's a whole range, and it just kind of has lots of different browns. Then it has this chipping medium, which is what the salt does, kind of thing. And then you just kind of put your paint on top, and you put your other colour cloth, and you just kind of start scraping away and making it look nice.
So a lot of work as well to finish it off like that.
It does,
right?
yeah.
But it does look really nice.
It's easy to go overboard and make it look wrong.
Okay, too much. So you need to know when to stop.
Exactly, and I think that's most painters.
And that's the problem. If you go overboard, you just have to start all over again. So it's really important to know when to stop then. And there you have it, right?
Yeah.
So guys, there you have it. Kevin Warwick's 40k Nerd World Eaters Army, which has been showcased for the first time. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I've actually enjoyed it a lot to hear about a lot of the background stories about the army. And yeah, guys, so hope you enjoyed it and catch you in the next one. Cheerio!